You know, I used to get this question a lot. Haven't gotten it in a while, but I used to get it all the time. The question would always be, how much of the old transferred into the new? And the answer is all of it. But you want to be dispensational, and you want to figure out what's the least I have to do, and you want to not do all of it. Now, but then they'll say, but what about this or that? Well, some things are not doable today. It's not that they didn't transfer forward. If the temple hadn't been destroyed, we'd still be going to it. Do you understand that? Don't be Christianized in your thinking that when Yeshua died, that wiped that all out. What he did had nothing to do with that. They all still went for another 40 years. They didn't stop going. They all went until it was destroyed in 70. And so it was about 40 years later. So some things are not doable, they're not done away with. They've been rendered moot at the moment, if you know what that word means, right? So in other words, they're not doable, they don't apply right now because there's missing pieces to it. You can't do all the things that are for the Levites without the Levites and the temple. If you're a man, you can't do the woman things. If you're a woman, you can't do the man things. If you're not a priest, you don't do the priest things. If you're not in the land, you don't do the land things that are required. In other words, not just that you need to be in the land to do. Because people will say to you, and I know you've heard this, I say this a lot, but we'll say it again in this teaching, you know, when they find out that you're keeping the Torah, they'll be like, oh, what are we going to start stoning people now? And my first thought always is, yeah, we'll start with you. And then I repent. That's a good idea. Let's start with you. Because then I'm doing all of this, you see, and I'm in big trouble. But the answer is no. No, the answer is no, we're not going to start stoning anyone because that Torah command requires other things to be in place to do it. You need to be in the land. You need to be a corporate nation called Israel with judges, with a king or judges or leaders like that are there to handle the process of witnesses, etc., the judicial system. You can't just stone anybody. That was part of the problem in John when they brought the woman caught in adultery. They did the whole thing wrong. And you've heard me teach that many times. They brought her by herself. It's supposed to be her and him. They brought her to the wrong person. She was supposed to be brought to the judges. They brought him to Yeshua, wasn't a judge. Okay? And so they brought it to the wrong person. I mean, then there were supposed to be witnesses, and then the witnesses had to be vetted. And then if the witnesses were false, what was going to be done to her gets done to them, which is stoning, which is why Yeshua said, whoever's without guilt, in other words, whoever is actually a genuine witness, you're right, by the way, according to Torah, is to throw the first stone. So everything was done wrong. And so, no, you can't do everything in Torah today because of certain things missing there. But the things you can, you must. The things that are still applicable because nothing is missing to do them. You don't need anything to exist to eat correctly. You don't need anything to exist to keep Shabbat. You don't need anything to exist not to murder, commit adultery, not to steal, not to do idolatry. All these things you don't need a temple or Levites or corporate nation to do. And so you need to do them, including how you treat each other without partiality. You don't need those things as parameters to exist to do these things.